Hey there. Okay, so I get asked quite a lot what my preference is between Mac OS and Windows. I've been programming Windows since I started with Visual Basic on Windows 3.1 using a 286 PC. That was over 25 years ago. Now I feel old. I've been programming in Objective-C on a Mac since probably about Leopard came out on a white polycarbonate MacBook. That was my first ever Mac because I wasn't too sure if I was going to like Mac or not. And to be totally honest, about 3 days of using a Mac and I was totally hooked. As a general user and not a programmer, they basically equate to the same thing. They're both a graphical computer system that can connect to the internet and both allow me to do office and home tasks equally well. Both can run Steam, so there's games there. Both have browsers, both run iTunes, I can listen to the same music on both of them. Essentially, to the end user in me, they are the same. They just look a bit different. And obviously they're priced very, very different. As a programmer, Windows and Mac OS are both worlds apart and yet similar. I am a human, and here is a banana for scale. So, one banana. Now, I share about 96% of my genes with chimpanzees who apparently like bananas. I also share about 60% of my genes with this banana. We are cousins. You can see the resemblance, right? Now, Windows and Mac OS also have a common ancestry. The UI, with its icons and mouse pointers and all that stuff, is all derived from Xerox PARC. That's where it was invented. Things are organised and composited on screen, either using the DWM under Windows, which stands for the Desktop Window Manager, or on a Mac, it's done by a similar thing called the Windows Server. There's an underlying graphics engine on both of them, so you've got DirectX on Windows that's driving the hardware, and on Mac you have Metal. Well, at least on the modern Macs you have Metal. The code base for each operating system can run on multiple processors. So on Mac you had the PowerPC, then they migrated up to the Intel processor, and then a lot of that code base was then recompiled to run on the Apple specific processors, so like the A8, A9, A10, and all the ones going back before that for iOS. And then also on the Apple Watch, there's another processor there, and those are based on the ARM system under the hood. And Microsoft had the biggest race for several years because Windows traditionally has always been stuck on Intel. Now, you may remember the Windows RT debacle, but the reason that came about is very, very similar to what happened with Windows Vista, where you had a massive architectural sea change happening. And whilst technically it was great and had to happen, the way it was packaged and put to the consumer was not so great. So maybe that's actually a talk for another video one day. Windows, or rather Microsoft, had to get Windows off of the Intel processor because obviously ARM is where the mobile is at, and if you're stuck on Intel, well, Intel is not where mobile is at. So, Intel does not own the mobile space. You can program in C or .NET on both of the operating systems. They both talk to external objects like servers and stuff, printers, using the same protocols. They practically use the same APIs for opening sockets, reading, writing data, because these are all standards that have been around forever. Neither operating system invented it, even though there has been Apple-specific protocols and there have been Microsoft-specific protocols. At the end of the day, 90% of what you do is probably all done using historical stuff that predates both of them. For me, personally, it always comes down to what I'm trying to do with a computer. So sometimes I'm forced to use a Mac, such as if I'm programming in Xcode, and other times it is a choice. If I'm doing accounting or business things, then Windows is a great choice. Often I'd say that Windows is better for games too. Having said that, Steam runs on a Mac. I do use Steam on the Mac more than I'd use it under Windows. So, having said that, I am not a heavy gamer. I don't have to have 60 frames a second at some really crazy high resolution. I just don't need that. It comes back to the question, which one is actually better? If I'm doing creative things, then the Mac makes the most sense. It's more reliable and the software is usually better. If I'm just tinkering around, what would I use? Maybe an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. Both of them I will connect to a Mac 9 times out of 10 rather than Windows. So which one would I recommend? If you have the budget, I would personally recommend that you get a Mac. You can always add Windows as an operating system to it later and run that in a VM or via Boot Camp or something like that, which is something you can't do under Windows. So there you go, that's what I think. Let me know in the comments what you think. Hit subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.